one of the things that I really remember this movie for is my cousin and my uncle getting into a fist fight. Happy 4th from Cinema Clown Around. I want to watch Mel Gibson.
Time for the greatest show fi start anew. The ringmaster James, him step inside the frame with a wide angle.
Good morning, Creature Features, and happy 4th of July. Today is our Independence Day special. Features, I'm going to give you all a mini double movie review. Now, we've talked extensively about both of these films in the past. So both Supergirl and the new Jackass Best and Last. My previous few episodes, y'all can check those out. So now, quick film reviews for both of them. Were they good movies? Now, also, before we get started with all of that, this release kind of reminded me of the Barbenheimer release from a few years back, where Oppenheimer and Barbie were both released, and people recommended that you go and you see both movies. Now, I did the same thing with this one. I saw them back to back. First, I saw Jackass Best and Last, and then I saw Supergirl the next day. And I kind of wish that I switched that order around. Now, with Barbenheimer, I called it Oppenharby. I thought that was a funner title for it. But anyway, so, you know, I'm going to start off also by saying happy 250th birthday to the United States. It's 4th of July. This is the 4th of July special episode. And really, what's more American than Supergirl or Jackass Best and Last, right? So were they good movies? Supergirl, maybe. Jackass Best and Last, yes. Supergirl was too long. Now, for a superhero film, I can see why you'd want it to be a long film. The problem was, you know, it was 2 hours. It was very slow. And also, there's a scene where she's poisoned, Supergirl is, and it's very derivative of the Mandalorian scene where Baby Yoda takes care of the Mandalorian after he gets poisoned, which that was another film that I didn't enjoy this summer. But you know, you're not going to love them all, I guess, unfortunately. Now, Supergirl was incredibly creative, though. I have to give it props for that. I loved the costumes. I loved the colors. I loved all the different creatures, characters, aliens, everything that they threw in there, and even some of the classic DC stuff that you don't really always see. But I really felt like they could have done a lot more with it, and I think we really need Supergirl on Earth compared to having her be out in the galaxy. It's more relatable and it's more fun to see her here. But I mean, towards the end of that film, she did say she was going to be staying on Earth. Now, I definitely want to see more from DC, and this has me wondering what's next. You know, I know Clayface is going to come out in a few months, and that's going to be a horror movie. So R-rated. I'm excited for that. I'm looking forward to that, but I don't want to get too excited for it because I was looking forward to Supergirl, and it was a bit on the disappointing side. But it's a movie that I'd like to see again, and maybe see it again soon. And I'm going to give you all a second watch overview of it. And DC movies sometimes, you know, or a lot of times you got to watch them until you enjoy them, unfortunately. So Jackass Best and Last, I mean, that was very good. It was a great way for them to close it out, a fifth film. And we didn't expect to get it, obviously. My previous episode was about Jackass. Unfortunately, I wanted to get that out a week earlier, but I had some computer issues. But we're back on track now. So I was hopeful that this was not going to be too leaning on the old footage that they had, because they said that they were going to be showing a lot of old clips and stuff. And I had noticed that in the trailers, but that had me wondering, are we not getting a new movie here? But, you know, we actually ended up getting mostly a new movie, a lot of really, really fun stunts, crazy stunts, and really, I'd say gets the crown for the most disgusting stunt ever when everybody takes the medicine to help you get a colonoscopy. So that's a pretty interesting scene. Now, Bam, you know, he was in the film and old footage and some of the other stunts that they didn't show from the last film, Jackass Forever, but he was not in this in any of the new stuff with them. And Adam Ray, he's a comedian, one of my favorite comedians. He actually makes an appearance in it, and it's when Steve-O gets a colonoscopy by a robot. Steve-O does scream a lot in that scene. It's funny, but Adam Ray voicing the robot really it makes the scene a lot funnier, too. And Now, this was a good one. It was a good way for them to go out. It was a good goodbye for everybody. It was kind of even emotional. I mean, towards the very beginning, you see Johnny Knoxville in tears. And I enjoyed it. I saw each and every one of the Jackass films in theaters, some of them multiple times. So I would heavily recommend that y'all go see either Supergirl, or excuse me, no, heavily recommend y'all go see Jackass Best and Last. And you know, if you're a major DC fan, then I would say go and see Supergirl just because it's kind of one of those obligations. But otherwise, I mean, I'm going to have to give it another watch and see what I thought. But I mean, Jackass Best and Last, that's another movie that I'd actually like to see again. There was a lot of stuff to love in it, and that has me wondering what's next for the Jackass series. Because, you know, if you look at it, a movie, you know, 2 movies ago or 1 movie ago, they just introduced new cast members. So what are the new cast members going to do? Hopefully we're going to see them in a lot of new stuff, and MTV is going to, you know, give them their own shows and things like that. Or maybe create something different, maybe not Jackass, but make it a whole new thing. And that could be a lot of fun too. So definitely go out and check out Jackass Best and Last. Avoid Supergirl if you can. And everybody, please have a happy and safe 4th of July. I'm ready to go. I got my America's Team on, my America's Team Cowboys gear. So I'm all set to enjoy the holiday. So everybody have a happy holidays. So I definitely wanted to get into some Independence Day films for y'all today. We've got about 6 of them that we can get through. And these are definitely, some of them I would recommend watching on Independence Day, whereas I'm definitely going to let you know which ones to probably skip. So let's go ahead and get started. And I'd just like to go ahead and remind everybody to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And also let us know any topics you'd like me to cover. So we're going to start with Independence Day. That's the first on the list. 1996 is when this one came out. And this was the ultimate 90s blockbuster. And, you know, the script's origin came from director Ronald Emmerich. He was asked by reporters about the idea of aliens and if he believed in aliens. And he talked about how interesting it'd be to look up and see like a, you know, 3-mile wide ship just kind of like approaching Earth, or a 15-mile wide ship. And that actually got him started on the story with him and his co-writer Dean Devlin. And they actually just wrote it in 3 weeks, which is pretty impressive. And, you know, originally Fox was going to get help from the military. So they were going to get tanks, planes, you know, cars, things like that. But after the military learned about Fox putting a reference to Area 51 in the script, they said, yeah, we're not going to do that anymore. So Fox had to rely on models after that, which is pretty interesting. I mean, it's one of those situations where people kind of already knew it existed, especially in the 90s, and now everyone knows that it exists. But for them to just back out just because of the reference in the script. But I mean, it is a pretty large plot point in the film. So, and then there's also that iconic explosion to think about. There's multiple alien ships around that kind of converge on Earth, and then it shows, you know, how humans would respond to it back in the mid-90s. And it's by sending a bunch of airplanes towards the ships, pretty much. So, but eventually all the motherships do end up like striking Earth, and it's pretty impressive. They had to use miniatures, so they built a like small scale of the White House and some other buildings around the United States, and that's how they did it. So it seems like they relied a lot on practical effects and models to get this stuff done. And the title Independence Day actually almost wasn't even for the movie, because WB actually Warner Brothers owned the rights to the title. But Ronald Emmerich said, okay, we need to go ahead and rush that Bill Pullman speech, because there's a speech towards the end of the film where it shows Bill Pullman pulling all the like Air Force people together to make a final strike on the ship. And after they saw that speech, they said, okay, we're going to go ahead and get that title. And, you know, I thought it would be fun to go ahead and just read the speech for y'all. And let's see how well I do here. I'm probably not going to do as well as Bill Pullman, but I'm going to give it my best. Good morning. In less than an hour, aircraft from here will join others from around the world. And you will be launching the largest aerial battle in the history of mankind. Mankind. That word should have a new meaning for all of us today. We can't be consumed by our petty differences anymore. We will be united in our common interests. Perhaps it is fate that today is the 4th of July, and you will once again be fighting for our freedom, not from tyranny, oppression, or persecution, but from annihilation. Perhaps we are fighting for our right to live, to exist. And should we win the day, the 4th of July will no longer be known as an American holiday, but as the day the world declared in one voice, we will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. We're going to live on. We're going to survive. Today, we celebrate our Independence Day. Yay! Probably going to edit that down a little bit. But yeah, so Bill Pullman gives that speech, and I mean, the first time you see the movie, and actually it's one of those scenes that every time I watch the movie, I have to stay around for that scene, or just fast forward to that scene, because, man, that's a lot of fun. And it is actually looked upon as one of the greatest speeches, in film history, so that's definitely saying something. Now, Will Smith, this movie is not the same movie without Will Smith and his performance as Captain Stephen Hiller. And he definitely adds so much more to this film than it would have been. And I think this was pre-Men in Black. So, he was already working with aliens by the time he did Men in Black through Independence Day. And it's also interesting seeing him as an Air Force pilot, because that gives you a whole different perspective. The film does that by giving you the different perspectives of, the Air Force pilot with Will Smith. Bill Pullman plays the President of the United States, so you see how he would deal with an alien invasion. And then you've also got a post-Jurassic Park Jeff Goldblum in this film, and he also, it's not the same film without him. So when you get Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum on screen together, it makes the film a whole lot more rewatchable. And I've seen this film a lot of times. It was kind of my go-to 4th of July screening. I would always watch the VHS copy that I have. So I'm going to have to look. It's either in a box over here or a box in the garage. I'm going to have to go check around for my VHS copy of Independence Day. And, also, they had a lot of toys that were released for this. It was a big release. And I remember the toys were kind of disappointing. They weren't very sturdily made, and mine broke pretty quickly. Like, the alien would open up, and it would have like a smaller alien inside of it, and it really didn't last very long. But each toy came with like a floppy disk. So you put it in your computer, and it would have like this really crummy game, kind of like a cereal box game, where it just, I don't know, I think I tried to play it, but it didn't work very well on the computer, and it ended up I think ruining my father's work laptop. But, that's just what floppy disks were like back then, especially if you're going to put in some random thing from, a toy or a game. Or we probably also just didn't have the proper hardware at the time. And I remember how important this was at Blockbuster of a release. I mean, just before it came out in theaters, people were talking about this film. Big alien action film. But then to also see this film make that video release. I mean, tons of VHS copies on the walls at Blockbuster. And the thing was, Blockbuster used to have a guarantee where if they didn't have a certain movie, because they would get so many on the day it would release, then they'd give you a slip of paper that would guarantee you being able to get that film later in the future when they had it in. So, I don't think there's anything like that anymore with streaming services, but that was just a different time. Another interesting part is this film came out around the same time Tim Burton's Mars Attacks film came out. And very similar films to the alien invasions and showing all the different perspectives. But this was a very different film than Mars Attacks. Mars Attacks is a lot more of a comic book movie, very tongue-in-cheek, very over the top. And it's definitely a lot of fun, but a different kind of fun than Independence Day was. So I'm going to have to definitely recommend everybody go check out Independence Day if you haven't seen it yet. It's a go-to watch for 4th of July. And up next, we got Independence Day 2 Resurgence. So this came out in 2016, And this was exactly 20 years after the first Independence Day released. And honestly, I don't remember a whole lot of overwhelming excitement for this film. Like, people weren't really like talking about it or really looking forward to it. And I think one of the big issues was that it waited way too long. You can't wait 20 years after you have a big hit to make another one and then expect to have the same audience want to go back and see that movie. I mean, by then people were pretty burnt out on alien movies, not to mention that 2016 summer movies, you can go back and check out, I've got a video covering that mammoth summer of releases, just release after release of good films. And it was really hard to compete with all of those. I actually really came close to seeing this in the theaters, but instead I went to go see The Shallows with a friend, and I did not regret making that decision. I could imagine sitting in this other one and wondering what The Shallows was like, so I'm really happy I did that. One of the things I do like about the sequel over the first one is that they show alien tech a lot more, because now humans actually have their hands on it, and they were able to reverse engineer it. And you have these fighter jets that also have the alien UFO technology on them. So that's actually pretty cool, too. And this is actually on Patton Oswalt's list on GQ of some of his favorite films, favorite sci-fi films. And he does mention a kind of a plot hole where they do upload a virus to the aliens in the first film. And people are saying, you know, hey, how are they able to just upload this virus if it's completely different technology than the aliens? And they cut out a line of the first Independence Day saying, well, actually, we have some of their technology, and by doing this, we reverse engineered it, and that's how we're able to send the virus up to the aliens. But, you know, this didn't even come close to how good number one was. I have liked it the first maybe 2 times that I watched it, but every time I go back and watch it again, I wonder why I'm watching it, and I wish that I just watched something else. So, you know, it did have a bigger budget. $165 million, but for it to just pull in $389 million as a return worldwide, we definitely aren't going to see a number 3 for this. And, you know, I mean, even if it was a modest hit, it just wasn't very good. So how are they going to, you know, continue that series and make it any better? And I definitely wouldn't recommend this as a 4th of July watch, but, you know, it isn't a horrible movie if you just want to sit and watch, like, just a regular action movie for a little while. And this one, the alien mothership is much bigger than the 15 miles in diameter. They give it a 3,000 mile in diameter ship that's able to come down to Earth, and it actually has its own gravitational pull, so it'll, like, pick cities up and drop them on others. The scale in this one is kind of what they went for over making it a quality film. There's even a queen alien in this film, and it's kind of similar to James Cameron's Aliens. So you see this queen alien, and it's, I don't know, the size of a skyscraper, and there's a scene where it's chasing a school bus. And it is a fun scene, but it shows that they were going for the scale as opposed to making it a good movie. And then up next, we have The Patriot. So, you know, this one, big Mel Gibson movie, sweeping, brutal historical epic, and that, you know, pretty much shows why the 4th of July is the holiday that it is. And Mel Gibson and Heath Ledger in this film, you know, you see the two of them, they have excellent chemistry, and I think maybe that has to do with the Australian roots, but also just the fact that they're both very talented. And they went through really, really rough training for this. They actually genuinely learned how to do a flintlock musket. And that's something they could have easily just passed off to, you know, maybe having like a coverage shot of someone else doing it. But, you know, they were able to actually learn how to do it. And it was definitely a breakout moment for Heath Ledger. You know, you look 8 years later, he's in The Dark Knight and wins an Oscar. But he actually ended up beating 200 actors to get this, and that really makes me wonder who the runners-up were and, you know, how their careers were compared to how his was. And, you know, this actually isn't based on a genuine and specific character of, you know, America's fight for independence against the British. This is based off of a kind of amalgamation of a few different characters. His name is Benjamin Martin, but it's a composite of Revolutionary War heroes Thomas Sumter, Andrew Pickens, Francis Marion, who is the famous Swamp Fox, and then Daniel Morgan. And, this was definitely a box office legacy. So for, kind of the film that it was, R-rated and all that, $215.3 million. Actually, it might have been PG-13. I'm not positive if it was R. But $215.3 million worldwide. And, this is a big 4th of July television movie. You'll see it on very often for 4th of July television. I really love the setting in this movie of the South, and they do a really good job of kind of showing it and the way they showed it. It also, the costumes have a lot to do with making it so much better of a film. They're believable, and they're time accurate. And I have to mention, there's a scene with some Great Danes in this. It's one of the British officers' Great Danes, but Mel Gibson's character steals them from them, and it's pretty humorous. So look out for that scene when you screen this movie. And I actually remembered this movie coming out in the summer of, I guess it was 2000. So it finally hit the movie theater, or came out on video. And my aunt was like, I want to watch Mel Gibson. And so we went and we all watched it as a family. And one of the things that I really remember this movie for is my cousin and my uncle getting into a fist fight during water balloons in the backyard. And I remembered watching this movie either before or after that happened, so it's really hard to separate those two events. And I think it all stemmed from some stupid golf spat that they had, but it definitely was a watermark for this film for me. Also, you get a good version of Mel Gibson. This is when he was at his best in the 2000s. I mean, you really see him kind of have that fall from grace shortly after this, but Mel Gibson at his best here in The Patriot. This is a movie I've seen multiple times. I love it, and sometimes I even jump on YouTube to check clips out. And probably one of my favorite parts, aside from the Great Danes, is when the French forces finally arrive in boats to blockade the British from leaving. And you see that scene where Mel Gibson says "Vive la France," and it's pretty cool. They have a French officer who's helping train the revolutionaries there in America. And I would highly recommend this film as a 4th of July watch, and I actually might watch it myself this 4th of July. So another big 4th of July movie for our number 4 movie on the list. This was a really big movie, Live Free or Die Hard, 2007 release. And I saw this one in the cinema, and it's actually an interesting plot for 2007 because it's all about kind of an internet takeover and then a shutdown by a criminal organization, and that's run by Timothy Olyphant. So, this is seeing him in 2007 when he's starting to get his start, and he does a really good job as a villain and kind of as that foil to Bruce Willis's John McClane. And he's kind of bringing back that, Bruce Willis is bringing back that wrong guy, wrong place type of energy, but they pair him with Justin Long in this, and I think that definitely pays off for the film. The chemistry between the two of them is undeniable, and it would have been nice to see Justin Long return for the 5th one, but that just wasn't going to happen considering there wasn't a whole lot of reason for his character to return. Although they do kind of hint at the end of it that Justin Long might be dating John McClane's daughter, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead. And Bruce Willis, his stunt double actually was pretty seriously injured during this, and Bruce Willis picked up some hospital bills and also hotel and airfare for the stuntman's parents to come down and help him as he healed up, and that just shows the classy actor that he was too. And then you had Hollywood really going for CG for a lot of these computer generated stuff, but instead the director, Len Wiseman, said, we got to do a big practical movie. We got to have a lot of practical effects. And there is a scene where they have Bruce Willis's character kill a helicopter with a car. And that's actually pretty fun to watch because they actually really filmed it. So look out for that scene if you screen this film. And what was interesting for this one was this was the very first Die Hard to be PG-13 rated over R. And the reason they did this, obviously, was to make more money. And it helped. They did have another Die Hard movie come out after that. But, you know, I think it definitely took away from it. I'm curious as to what kind of film we would have got if it was R-rated and how much that would have changed, like, the way the film was. And, you know, this brought in $388 million at the box office. So the highest grossing Die Hard. But, I mean, that makes sense, especially in 2007. Entertainment then was really either, like, dying video stores, or you'd have to go to the movies, or maybe have cable. So I would highly recommend this one. I thought it was the last good Die Hard to come out, because the fifth one, it's just not as good. And look out for a Kevin Smith cameo in this film, too, because he does make a cameo, and it's pretty funny. And seeing this one at the movies, I think probably made me like it more. If I just would have rented this one, I don't think I would have liked it as much. Now, looking on at number 5, Born on the 4th of July from 1989. Now, this one's, you know, a sobering and emotional look at what Vietnam veterans went through in the cost of patriotism, and him coming back from the war. So it's played by Tom Cruise, who plays Ron Kovic, and this was based on like a real story of a Vietnam veteran. And you know, the real Ron Kovic was actually there on set most of the time and gave his blessing. And he was so moved by Tom Cruise's performance, he actually presented him with his Bronze Star on the final day of filming. So to give someone your military medal because you loved the way that they performed, I mean, that's pretty impressive, you know, from Tom Cruise's perspective, because he's known as a pretty good actor, but he's not really known to be as intensive as that. And Tom Cruise actually was going to go method with this. He was talking to Oliver Stone saying he wanted to have a nerve block injected into his back so he actually would be paralyzed and his legs wouldn't work for a few days. And Oliver Stone decided to talk him out of this one. I think that was probably a smart move. And I mean, I wonder, you know, what if Tom Cruise did continue this method stuff on? Does he do the same kind of big action films that we've been seeing, or do you see him doing a lot more drama? It was good that the director said, you know, hey, don't do this. And what would the movie have been had he had that nerve block injected? And Oliver Stone, the director of the film, actually is a Vietnam veteran himself, and he has a cameo in the film as a reporter. This is a really intense film, but I would have to label it as Tom Cruise's best performance. I haven't seen him outact himself in any other movie since this one. And I would highly recommend this as a watch. And considering the title, you know, speaks volumes, Born on the 4th of July. So it's about, you know, an American kid who was born on the 4th of July and then ends up going to Vietnam. And this actually almost came out in the 70s starring Al Pacino. And that would have been a pretty interesting switch. But I'm glad that we got the movie that we did. I actually saw this one in honors film class, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I remembered like different scenes and the symbolism and all of that. So highly recommend this one. And this actually won Oliver Stone an Oscar for Best Directing. So, you know, that shows you the quality craftsmanship that was put into this film. And I think a lot of it probably has to do with the fact that Oliver Stone himself fought in Vietnam. So he has that perspective and that mindset, and he brings it to the movie. And it made $162 million on a small budget, which it is a small budget. Don't expect a whole lot of large action pieces or set pieces or anything like that. But it is really entertaining and just very emotional. So I would highly recommend this one. And then up next, an honorable mention, because we talked about this film already in a previous video, but Jaws from 1975. This is kind of the ultimate 4th of July, because ultimate 4th of July film because, you know, this is the whole plot driver for this film, Jaws, of the mayor saying we have to keep the beaches open as 4th of July, and the sheriff saying, look, we have to close the beaches. There's a man-eating shark out there, and it's not safe, obviously. And, you know, what happens? You know, classic man versus beast. And this movie made $476.5 million. Think about that in 1975. So, you know, I don't know exactly what that is adjusted for inflation, but this invented the summer blockbuster. And it's interesting to hear that you're going to need a bigger boat. That line was improvised by Roy Scheider. This definitely gets the Cinema Clown Around medal for best shark movie ever. I have to say, I have not seen a shark movie that has, you know, outsharked this one since. I mean, Deep Blue Sea was pretty good, but still nowhere near as good as the Jaws. So, honorable mention, Jaws. Those were 6 4th of July movies. Let me know what are y'all watching this 4th of July, and also, are you going to check any of these out? Well, that is the end of Cinema Clown Around and our 4th of July special. This was episode 6. I'm so glad that everybody tuned in. I hope y'all are having an excellent 4th of July. Let me know, how are you celebrating 4th of July in the comments? And also, are you checking any of these films out? Also, please recommend any other good 4th of July films that y'all know in the comments so we could all also enjoy them too. I'd also like to remind everybody to comment, like, subscribe, and send me any topics or, you know, movies, actors, shows, anything y'all would like me to cover. So, everybody, please have a wonderful 4th of July and stay in the cinema.